Speaking of floating, there was a recent Vision Pro OS update. Did you guys see this? Vision OS 1.1.
Yes.
Big update to shared experiences,
Which is a big deal.
I made a video a week after Vision Pro came out about the things that were missing from Vision Pro. And my first and most, I think, significant thing missing from the Vision Pro experience, which has been in VR headsets forever, is shared experiences. Meaning, you and I both have a headset on. We're in different places, but we're looking at the same virtual thing at the same time. Very basic thing.
It seems like one of those things where I'm sure there are people who bought the Vision Pro, went in and were like, wait, this doesn't have that? Like, how it seems like such an obvious thing to start with.
It feels like they probably were planning on it. They probably knew they were going to launch this right after the headset pretty long.
At WWDC, when they announced the Vision Pro, one of the developer sessions said it was coming and showed how to implement it when it did ship.
So the update is, most of the time when you're doing how do I explain this? You've seen the personas, right? It's like in a little glass window. You kind of look at the person and it's their face and their like shoulders and they're kind of floating in the glass window.
FaceTime, right?
So there is now a button when you're in certain experiences to enable spatial personas, and when you do that, the glass windows around the personas go away, and the persona is a little floating ghost person. And it's surprising. Again, all the things that were good about FaceTime are now good about spatial FaceTime, which is the person's audio sounds like it's coming from the place in the room where it is. And when you look at people, you're now all in a room together. So I did this first demo where I was on FaceTime with two other people, and the person one was to my right and the person two was to my left. And when they looked at each other, they looked like they were looking at each other and not at me. And when one of them looked at me, I was looking at her. And when I looked at the other one, you know what I mean? Like it was spatially accurate.
Yeah.
Heights were also correctly represented. So if we all stood up, the headset can see how far from the ground we are. I could see that I was the tallest one in the group because I was looking down at the other spatial persona. It worked. And you could sort of enable this in a couple different experiences. There were several apps that they had beta versions of that would allow us to play with this. So JigSpace, which is the one we've all seen with the Formula One car. You could pull the engine off and you can look at the wheels and stuff like that. JigSpace had a demo where they supported the spatial personas right off the bat.
I like ghosts. Let's keep calling it ghosts.
You support the ghosts. And right away, it was exactly the way Cleo and I described it in her video, which was, let me show you this.
Yeah.
You see the object, I move the object, you see the way I moved it. If I wanted to point the engine at you, I would literally take it and manipulate it in space and point it at you, and you would see it pointed at you.
Yeah.
So all of that interaction with objects in 3D space is starting to roll out now. They had, I think, it was like one or two Apple apps, like the Keynote app and JigSpace and one or two other things. Apple TV, you can watch videos in a virtual theater where you're in the middle seat and the people behind you have a further back seat. All that stuff. You could walk around the theater. It was cool. So that's new.
Yeah.
That's finally you can do the thing that you were doing. Oh, you can do environments as well.
Right.
So I did this thing where I played chess with the group, and there was 3 people, and we were all sitting around a chess table. Or no, cards. Sorry, we were playing cards.
That 3-player chess.
Sorry, multiplayer chess. But four people all sat around a table. We were playing a card game. We turned on the environment, and so if we all turned on the environment at once, we'd all be in the same environment. We could all look around and see the same things. So we all saw the same board. I played my cards. They all saw it. Then the next person played their cards. They all saw it. It's the way we have been doing.
They're
it on
virtual
Quest
cards
for years.
Yeah, but I thought you said you were playing chess.
I did chess with one other person.
Oh.
But then I did cards with 4 people.
I was like,
yeah. 4-person chess is not.
Playing?
Yeah.
4-person chess with cards?
Yeah, it's a weird game.
They need
but that is real now.
Board game simulator with that, which I'm pretty sure is available in probably Quest already, and probably Vive.
It is. Mm-hmm. It's been around for a very long time.
That seems to be the cool stuff in like VR. That would be really fun. Is like a bunch of board games, because like still playing chess, I could see being fun. Cards feels like one of those gimmicky things. Like, look, we can do spatial ghosts or whatever.
You're also quite limited on what card games you can play, because the games that I play most with groups are like Speed or Egyptian Rat Slap.
Yeah.
And those games are games that require like rapid movements in front of each other.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this wouldn't work as well.
That wouldn't work that well.
But I will say, my 2 biggest takeaways from having a demo of it were, 1, The ghosts look
Bad.
Better.
well, they look okay. I mean, the hands are much more prominent. So you know how you could see like hands in front of your face when you did a FaceTime through the glass window? The hands are like always visible now. So it kind of looks like a like a Wii character. You've seen the Wii characters where the hands are always there and then the body's kind of floating.
You sound like someone who like just gave a friend a present and they open it and they're not very excited, and so you're trying to explain why it's really cool
weird.
and they're just not buying it at all.
I guess if you compare this to what I was just doing in the Quest, it is obviously a very different experience. But the other version of that is the Quest has much more massive, immersive environments to move around in, and I still don't really have that on Vision Pro yet. Haven't seen that yet. Obviously, having a chessboard is cool in front of you. Everyone can interact with it. Obviously, being in a theater where everyone watches the same video is pretty cool.
Yeah.
But having like a huge map where you can run around and play games and all this stuff is not a thing on Vision Pro yet.
Yeah.
Here's a question I have, and maybe you still haven't used it or either of them quite enough, but like I'm still interested in if the avatar is realistic versus like specifically an avatar. And like what feels better, especially because the realistic avatars in the Vision Pro right now clearly still have a lot of work to do and aren't overly realistic.
Beta.
Yeah, so like does that feel more real and more like fun? Or like if you just know that you can't get that realistic, to have your own personal avatar that looks kind of like you but is clearly a cartoon, is that more like immersive because you're just in the whole world like that?
It's a really good question. I think that's exactly where it comes down to taste. Like when I look at the Apple persona, especially in the glass window, I can see how it feels realistic, like a real conversation. But when you take the glass window away, like the side of your head just fades into clear, and your shoulders fade into clear, and your hair fades into clear. And if you look away from me, I just see like a ghost outline of you with floating hands. So it doesn't look realistic, which means I look at it, I'm like, this has a long way to go. But if it's a cartoon, it doesn't have any of those clear fadeaway downsides. I didn't scan the top or the back of my head, but now it's a cartoon. So it is further along because you can see more of me more often in the cartoon, but it's also not as far along, you know?
I think sometimes in VR though, it's really easy to be like, it can be immersive without being realistic. And like if the avatar matches the environment you're with, and once you're in there for like 10, 20 minutes and then you're in there for a while, that's when you have that, like I took the headset off and it's like, whoa.
Yeah.
I was really into that. And that's what I could see it being more immersive despite being less realistic.
It's also a use case thing too, like immersive versus realistic. In gaming, I want immersive, but in a meeting over a keynote, I don't know. I kind of just want, like if I'm doing a business meeting, which I think is kind of what Apple actually thinks some people are going to do with this, and I'm showing you a thing on a presentation. If it's a cartoon, it's like I'm not trying to take that seriously.
But is it more distracting when it's like it's a cartoon, you're expecting a cartoon, versus it's David, but the left half of his face is missing because he keeps turning to the right, and like his ears are like glued to his head, and like he's fuzzy all over. Like sometimes I feel like if you're trying too hard to be realistic and it's not, that feels way less immersive. And
Meta
realistic.
leaned really hard into the cartoons, and I just think that didn't age very well. And it just feels
makes it very hard for them to be like
serious.
This is a business like kind of thing. I totally agree with that. And I'm not one way or the other, but I don't know which one would feel better.
So you know what I think the main challenge is Apple wants the scan process to be as easy as possible for as many people as possible. But I think if you were to do like a much more detailed, like 2-minute long scan process, you could have an amazing persona. Kind of like the way like some people like set up like a mirrorless camera with a USB cable into their computer to be like their webcam, and that's a small fraction of people, and most people will never want to do that. But for the people who actually want to put in the work, it can look way better. Yeah, I think if there is some fraction of people who are like, I'm going to give a work presentation, I need the high res like good scan. I'm not going to do the 12-second scan that Apple makes you do for FaceTime. I'm going to do the big high res full torso scan so I can like have a good looking realistic persona.
I think that if you buy the Vision Pro at an Apple store, they should have like a setup and take it out and do this, help you do the scan with like studio lights and stuff. they should do that.
Well, like what you're talking about does not exist, right?
Yeah,
Even
this is
in
a
the
made-up thing that I think
and
would
like
be nice.
the best scan possible with lights, I still think would look sketchy.
It's definitely better in this update than it was originally. Like it's better at the hair cutouts and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And the textures of the face are slightly improved. It has a long way to go
Yeah.
for sure. I wanted to note something about the presence of the ghosts or spatial personas. I do think that this is a much bigger deal that this is finally coming out than people sort of realize, because before it felt like there was pretty much literally nothing to do with the Vision Pro except maybe like watch a movie that felt like a good or meaningful or better experience. And the arc that this is moving towards with the spatial personas is actually feeling the presence of like being in a room with someone and doing something with someone, I think is like the biggest value proposition of this. Because already people talk about the metaverse, right? Tim Sweeney loves to talk about the fact that kids now get on Fortnite and it's kind of like they're in a room together, right? They're all on Discord. They're all playing Fortnite. You're going to a concert together. And the whole thing about that is you're doing it with your friends. But there's not... the limit of presence in a Fortnite concert is that you're all on Discord together. But the closer you can get to like, this is my space, someone's sitting right next to me, we're doing this thing together, I think it's really awesome. Because if you're across the world and it really feels like there's a person like right next to you, that is incentive for me to put on a Vision Pro and actually hang out with somebody. I would rather do that than just get on Discord with them and talk to them over that.
Or even the Quest, if you had like a cartoon version of them.
Right. That's
even though you're in the same place, it doesn't feel like
it doesn't
you're hanging
feel
out.
real. Yeah.
Yeah.
They're still in the uncanny valley with the scans and everything, and that needs to get better for sure. But I think that for the future of Vision Pro and going from like this headset doesn't make sense to buy at all to like I can see where they're going with this, where this will be incredible and people actually might want to buy it, makes a lot of sense. Also, one cool thing about if you're using Apple TV, which I hope that they enable this in other streaming apps, but they probably won't. I don't know. Something that's cool is if you are watching a movie together or a show together or something, even though you see them standing right next to you, like or sitting right next to you watching the show, the TV will be perfectly aligned for both of you. So if you're both in the movie theater and your character is like sitting at the direct center of the movie theater, even if you see your friends sitting to the right, to them, they're in the direct center.
Yeah.
So you always get the best experience even when you're hanging out with your friends,
So
which
you
is
don't
kind of cool.
was a
like
clever one.
come in late and you're like, oh, I got the bad seat again for this Vision.
For the movie.
You're always late to the FaceTime. You have to back.
One time I watched a movie in the theater and we booked tickets at the very last minute and we were literally first row and it was a massive screen. And it was
Like
so
that meme of the guys.
painful. Yeah. Do not buy that ticket.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think it kind of plays into Theo's thesis for her video, which was this is a teleportation machine. And I think that's going to be the most valuable value
Cleo?
proposition.
Did you say Cleo or Theo?
Oh, you said Theo's thesis.
Did I say Theo?
Theo's
Or
thesis.
Cleo's
Okay.
thesis.
Cleo's
thesis.
thesis.
Oh. Theo's
Sorry,
thesis. Theo's thesis.
Yeah.
Cleo's thesis about it being a teleportation machine. I think that I can see us getting there
Slowly.
now, which is cool.
The fidelity of everything that's not the ghosts is pretty good.
Yeah.
Like the audio,
Yeah, the spatial.
That sounds all cool.
the objects that we're manipulating in front of each other, like that, all that stuff is like really good.
Yeah.
So it's just the ghosts that are a little.
And ironically, Apple being super obsessive about things being exactly as they would be in real life. Like, for example, having to like pick up a window and carry it with you, that obsessiveness is annoying, but I think that they're trying to program into people's heads that this is a real object, except that it's not,
Yeah.
I still wish that you could pin windows in front of you, but
That was the second biggest point in our video, so
Yeah.
it has to be coming next.
Yeah, I hope
it has
so.
to be.
I hope so. So what do you guys think Google's going to kill next? What has the least staying power? Or it doesn't make $1 billion?
Don't say it too loud, because it might actually happen.
I hope it's not tasks. I just started using tasks and I'll be very upset.
I
if it's
always
tasks.
think they're
Narrator.
going to kill it.
It was tasks.
I don't... Look, they've got Keep. They could just integrate... They could just add tasks features to Keep.
Google never integrates things that you would think they
Makes
do,
sense
but
to
then they
integrate.
just end up killing one of them.
Yeah.
They'll integrate features from one to the other and then kill it.
Yeah, they make a redundant product.
Yeah.
And then they were like, wait, why do we have 2 of these? They kill one of them and then like integrate like 1 or 2 of the features into the old one.
And then they light the building on fire. That's what did all the development of the other one.
And then they fire the employees.
Yeah.
As long as they don't cancel or kill the subscribe button.
Agreed.
Did that light up for you?
I would hope YouTube sticks around. I'd like
That'd
that.
be
I think
brutal.
it makes $1 billion, so it'll
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
So we're safe. So yeah, make sure you subscribe so you can stick around the whole YouTube thing.
also like and comment.